All right, Wednesday the 17th, we have a ladder, which I don't think we've done that either. Okay, so what that means is you are going up by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then you're going back down the ladder, 10, 8, 6, down to 2, okay? Or if you can't do up to 10, then you'll pick a shorter number. So we have straight leg deadlifts, weighted split squats, and swings. And then our part 2, we have windshield wipers. So straight leg deadlift, butt to the wall, feel your hamstrings pull, okay? Weighted split squat, so you'd have a dumbbell in each hand. This is the one where you just stay in your stance and go down. And then swings. And then windshield wipers. I feel like we haven't done these in a while, maybe, I don't know. Okay, so going back to the ladder a little bit. So, like I said, you are going up and down. So what that means is you're doing 2 deadlifts, 2 split squats per leg, 2 swings. Then you're doing 4 deadlifts, 4 split squats per leg, 4 swings. Then 6, 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 10, 10, 10. Then you're gonna start back at 10. 10, 10, 10, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2. So if that is, like if you start it and you're like, I think that's gonna be too much for me, then pick like 8, 2 to 8 or something like that. If you're somebody who, you know, can do even more, go heavier. Like when I did this one, I had I knew I had like as much time as I wanted to work out. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go heavier. So I did 2 to 10, 10 to 2, and I just, you know, used a heavier weight for my deadlifts and a heavier weight for my split squats. So, you know, you can make it whatever fits you. Just because something, you know, anything can be made more difficult by adding more weight, okay? So even the most jacked bodybuilder, if they had to do this workout, it can still be challenging for them as long as they're using challenging weight, okay? So, or if you're somebody who you want to do the whole thing, but you're a little bit nervous because you're like, I'm just not that strong, use a lighter weight but get the whole ladder done. So it depends on what you're trying to do. So we have straight leg deadlifts, weighted split squats, and swings. So I feel like we have talked about the deadlift type stance. Basically, so this one is perfect for kettlebells. If you don't have a kettlebell, you're just gonna do a weight. You can hold one weight kind of like this, however you can grip it, or you could hold 2 in between. I'm just gonna show you with one dumbbell. So what your goal is you wanna feel it pull in your hamstrings. So whenever you're doing a straight leg deadlift, you should feel it the most in the back of your leg, underneath your butt in the back of your leg, okay? So you're gonna have a nice, I usually do like shoulder width a little bit wider, and I always have a slight bend in my knee. I'm gonna start to fold forward at the waist. My butt is gonna push back to the wall. So see how I have that nice flat back and my knees are not super, super bent. They just have a nice little bend in them. And I'm gonna go down with keeping my back as straight as I can. I'm gonna feel that pull and I'm gonna stand up and squeeze my butt. So butt to the wall, lower your back until it pulls, stand up, okay? So this is the one that I was mentioning, ironically, last video, that even if you did it with no weight, you're gonna feel like I just have very tight muscles all the time. So I could do a lot of these leg things and feel it. Like that, I can absolutely feel it, even with having no weight. When I get to this spot, it's pulling so tight on my hamstrings. So that's what you're working. Like I said, you can hold the weight however you want. The only thing to watch for is the rounding of the shoulders. So I think I was trying to show this the last time, but I always end up wearing dark and then the wall is dark, so it's hard to see. So you might be able to see it better with this shirt. So what I mean by that is, if I'm holding weight and I come down, if I start to round my shoulders, it's gonna look like this. So see how the top of my back went from straight to rounded? So it's mostly the drop of that shoulder. So when you lower, if you are aware of where your shoulders are and you're keeping them tight and you're just folding everything together, your back's gonna stay straight. If you start folding and you start to let your shoulders drop, now you're gonna create a round in your back. So this is what a rounded back looks like. This is what a straight back looks like. So see the difference? So you never wanna do the rounded back, because as you add weight, it's gonna put a big strain, usually on your lower back. So when you're actually doing the exercise and you are rounding your back, you're not gonna notice for a while. And then if, you know, for say you've been rounding your back for a month, then when you start doing stuff, you're gonna feel it in like everything that you do. And you're gonna be like, why does my back hurt so bad? It's from rounding. So a lot of people do it when they're doing swings, when they're doing things like the deadlifts or anything where you're lifting up from the ground. They don't realize, or even weighted squats, they don't realize they're rounding in the moment, but repetitively doing that, it's gonna usually pull like either side of your lower back. And then, like I said, eventually it's gonna be like every exercise you do is gonna hurt your back, and you're gonna have no idea why, and you're gonna like be like, what the heck did I do? And that's usually what it is. So that's why I always mention it, and you wanna be careful, because you typically don't like get hurt from doing it like the first 100 times when you're actually doing it. It's like, it's a buildup of doing that where eventually it's gonna hurt. So try, if you're not sure, look in the mirror. If you don't know what that feels like some people, if you've been working out longer, you know what it feels like when you start to round. If you have never been working out or you just don't know, you might not know what that feels like, so you don't know that you're doing it. So you could, like I was just doing, you could stand here and drop down, straighten up, drop down, straighten up. And eventually you'll start to understand what that feels like. Weighted split squats. So you're gonna hold a weight in each hand. If you want, you don't have to, and you're gonna get a wide stance. So again, like our lunges where we're staggered, we're not tightrope stance, and you're just gonna drop down, basically 90 degree, up, drop down, up. So your split squat is almost like a stationary lunge. Instead of stepping back, lunging back, stepping back, you just stay out and then you drop down, up, drop down, up. So again, your feet are pointing forward. With this one, you always want your back foot to be up on the ball of your foot. They shouldn't both be flat. One of them, your back foot, is gonna be up, and you're just gonna sink down, stand up, sink down, stand up. Same thing with the other side. Sink down, up, okay? And then lastly, you have your swings. So this, I feel like I have maybe talked about this, but it's similar to the straight leg deadlift, the single leg deadlift, all of those things. Anything to do with that type of thing, your back is folding at the waist, or I should say hinging, your butt is going to the wall, and then on your way up, you squeeze. So the swing is very similar, it's just more fluid, and you're holding a weight in your hands. So again, this is a great one for kettlebell. If you don't have kettlebell, you can just hold a single dumbbell. You could hold 2 dumbbells together. It depends on how much weight or whatever you're trying to do. So I'm just gonna show you with 1 dumbbell. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring the dumbbell between your legs, okay? So as you fold and your butt pushes back to the wall, you're gonna push that weight in between your legs, like this. And when you come up and squeeze, you're gonna push it out with your arms, okay? So in, out, you're folding, your butt's going to the wall, you have a slight bend in your knees, the weight is going between your legs and up, between, up, squeeze your butt, okay? So it's kind of like a pendulum motion, and it's a hinge at the hip. This is what you're doing when you're swinging. So notice how I'm not squatting down. A lot of people's #1 mistake when they go to swing is they go like this. That's a squat. This is a hinge. If you don't know the difference, do them together. Hinge, squat, hinge, squat, hinge, squat. So a swing is a hinge, okay? And your arms, a lot of people think this is an arm exercise. It's not an arm exercise, but that's not your primary muscle being worked. What you're really working when you do swings is your legs, your butt, and your lower back. So again, this is another one where, we don't do, the way that I have our workout schedule is that we go so far between doing certain things. Like normally when you work out, you want to do legs like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, arms or upper body 2 or 3 times a week, you know, so forth. But because this is a program that anybody has to do and I can't really make it that way, sometimes we only have 1 leg workout a week. So you might only do swings 1 time a month in this program. So it's not, you know, it's not really likely that you're going to get hurt from it. But just so you're aware, a lot of people, I already told you they do the squat. A lot of people also do the rounding. So what they do is when they come in and they fold, they hinge, they come down like this, so their back is rounded, and then when they come up, they're overarching it. So they're rounding, overarching, rounding, overarching, instead of just bending and keeping their back straight. So a lot of people make that mistake, and then they end up hurting their back, when really you don't need to use your back in that way with swings, and then they don't understand what happens. So typically, if you've not done them before, or you're using a heavier weight, your back will be sore, but it shouldn't hurt. So that's another back-breaking culprit, the swing, because a lot of people have the form totally wrong, and then they end up using a heavier weight with wrong form equals injury. So if you are not sure, record yourself. I've had people send me before, like their recordings, just to make sure if they're not sure. And always, you can lower the weight if you also feel like it might be too much. So that's your ladder. And then for part 2, we have windshield wipers. So you're gonna pick between the 50 and 100. With these ones, you have to go either side. So I just put total because you're gonna count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So the windshield, that's always hard to fit in the frame, but basically what you're doing is you're gonna lay down with your arms out to the side. Your legs are gonna come up in the middle, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna drop to the side as far as you can, but not touch the ground, and then come back to the middle. Drop to the side, but don't touch the ground, come back to the middle. So what's happening is, excuse me, your shoulders and your head are staying on the ground. When your legs drop, it's gonna lift your lower back and like your butt kind of off the ground as your lower body turns. So what's happening is your upper body's staying the same, your lower body's like coming over here like this. So see how my butt cheek is kind of like off the ground now, and your lower back will be. So doing that on either side is giving you that twisting motion, which is gonna work like the sides of your core. So that's what you're doing when you do that. It is though a difficult move, and if you feel like because a lot of times what happens is people go to do it and they get to here and then their legs just drop. They're not strong enough to hold it like here, which is where you want to be. If you find that that's happening, instead of doing straight leg, shorten your legs. So you're gonna bend your knees and go more like side to side, versus when you have straight, they go to the side, but they kind of dip a little bit to the front, up, then they dip a little bit forward. So it's kind of almost like diagonal forward when you have your legs straight. If you have to shorten them, it's kind of more like side to side. This is kind of like a half windshield, which honestly, it still works the same. I think it probably works a little bit less of your core, but you'll definitely feel it. It still works it really good. So if you have to do the shortened version, that is fine. That's Wednesday the 17th.